Hey everyone, welcome into another edition of No Holds Barred here at the Toronto Sun. Rob Wong and Postmedia wrestling writer Jan Murphy with you. AEW All Out set for Saturday at Scotiabank Arena. One of the men on the card is our guest today. He'll be teaming up with his longtime friend Christian Cage to face off against FTR. It is Orangeville's own Adam Copeland. Adam, thanks for chatting with us today.
Yeah, thanks for having me. Appreciate
Yeah,
it.
gotta be specific. Orangeville, of course. I know there's going to be people watching this being like, you can't say Toronto. He's from Orangeville. What was the last time you were
Oh,
back home?
by that, but you could also say Wasaga Beach. You could also
That's
say
true.
Etobicoke. You could also say Scarborough. You could also say Chester, Nova Scotia. I mean, but born, yes, in Orangeville.
Yeah, everybody
Um,
wants to own a piece of that. Yeah.
yeah, right, right. No, it's I don't get up as much as I'd like. It usually wraps around wrestling shows, but it's a chance for everybody. It becomes the meeting point for the Copelands. So I think we have 20 coming to the show Saturday, and then we'll all get together for dinner after, and that's when we pretty much all catch up. So it feels like a homecoming every time I come back for a show, which is pretty great.
Adam, speaking of that, I mean, we've been doing these interviews together for it feels like 30 years, but it's more than 20. Um, Coming home at this stage in your career, you never know when might be the last time. And we thought we had the last time a few years ago with Sheamus. We have another opportunity a couple years ago with Christian, and here you are again. Do you treat each one of these as though it could be your last at this time in your career?
I have to, just because you just never know, and it's not like I have 20 years in front of me doing this. The window's closing quickly, and I understand that. But every time I can get up here, I'm like I just jump all over it because I know I'm in the final whatever. Um, and to come back and team with Jay in this one, and to find out we'd never teamed on pay-per-view in Canada before blew my mind. So that it's just going to be fun, as two guys, growing up just up the road and saying where we're going to do this, and to the Monarch Parks and the fighting arts, fighting art. I forget what Ron named it. Fame, Matt's entertainment. But from doing those and rec halls and stuff, and to doing this and going to Scotiabank, it's just kind of incredible when I stop to pull back and actually think about all of it. It's kind of crazy. So yeah, I soak it all in. I have to.
So you mentioned you guys teaming up, and you obviously were in the ring together at Forbidden Door back in August. It's been over a decade since you guys had teamed up. What was that experience like, and what do you think this is going to be like, just as far as the chemistry? Because you guys were apart for so long, was it kind of like riding a bike again, or you still have to work out some kinks?
No, it was immediate. It was we hadn't even talked about it. We just got in and did it, and it was like we did it the day before. There was nothing. Like we'd never done the pop-up spear before, but we're just like, yeah, we'll give it a try. Normally that kind of move, you would go, okay, you'd get in a ring a few weeks before, try it out a few times, make sure. We just went in and did it. So the chemistry was it's instant, but I knew that when we were working against each other too. It was especially at this stage of our careers and where we've landed mentally in terms of how to put things together, matches, stories, all of that. Now it's way easier because we have over 60 years of experience between the two of us to pull from. So there's not really a situation that we haven't been in, and I think when you know that going in, there's a comfort and a chemistry that you can tap into immediately because of that.
Let's talk about Jay for a minute. He's a guy who maybe hasn't enjoyed the headlines to the same degree that you did in your career. But at this point, I think Jay's doing some of the best work that he's ever done. And he's kind of like the Undertaker in that he's old school when it comes to the
Yeah.
approach. He doesn't do media. He's very protective of the business. Give us your, couple of sentences on what this guy means to the business and what his career has meant to the industry.
I think he might have been one of those guys that when he's gone, you fully grasp and appreciate. And I know within the industry, people understand because all you got to do is get in there with them once and go, oh, damn, okay. I wasn't familiar with your game, as they say. um, he can do whatever you put in front of him. And I think that's the ultimate testament to a performer is you can put him in any situation. He's going to knock it out of the park. Put him in a gimmick match, put him in a straight up wrestling match, put him in a tag match, put him in a TLC match. It doesn't matter. He's going to pull it off. And now that he's cultivated this character to where it is, that was our biggest struggle in doing this. It's like, okay, how do we maintain that? We can't lose that because that's the thing that will strangely make him beloved. What we realized, it just took both of us being in the ring together. And my character would to almost say, oh, it's okay. He's an asshole, but he's ours. And we just have to accept him as he is. That was the key, I think, because if I'm not sitting in there and he's saying all that stuff, well, then he's just a horrible person. Yeah. But if it's your horrible person, and it going in and that was, I think, key to making this thing work, and also making sure that it wasn't just a greatest hits where we come out and do 5-second poses and talk about dork chops and hainosity. We're 51 now. It has to be different. And for us and the type of guys that we are and the brains that we have, we didn't just want to come back and do, okay, well, we'll do this and this and this because we've done it before and it worked. We want to do different stuff. And I think that's why we're able to come back and do this and have fans be excited about it, because they know that we're performers like that. And you can see us now against a whole new litany of tag teams that we never thought we'd have a chance to get in there with. I mean, the fact that we're wrestling FTR on Saturday is just still mind-boggling if you knew all of the steps behind the scenes that it took to try and get this thing done, with me moving companies and this being one of the absolute major reasons why was this match, was teaming with Jay again, and then the murderer's row of talent in the locker room to go one-on-one against too. So we're enjoying this, and also realizing that it's finite and that it is not going to last forever. And I think also the fan base understands that it's like, this is going to be a limited time thing. And so we all just got to enjoy it while we got it.
So when it comes to that, I mean, I know you've mentioned it before, and you just mentioned it right now, that the time is finite for how much longer you want to do this. And of course, at the other company, we see a certain wrestler who's on a retirement tour right now, and that was announced last year in Toronto, in fact. And I'm curious for you, when you look at the quote unquote end of your career, is that something that you want? Do you want sort of a long kind of thing, not drawn out necessarily, but do you want sort of announcement to be, far ahead? Or are you someone that's going to wake up one day, call up Tony and hand in your 2 weeks, and a month later it's over?
I honestly don't know, but when I look at, I have the luxury, I guess, of having one retirement under my belt. And that was a very emotional one, and a very, it was an amazing send off, right? So this one, I'm not that concerned with how it goes. Would I like for it to be in Toronto? Yeah. I think that would be fitting to try and do it as close as I could to the place that I started it, which is Monarch Park over on I think a plane crashed there the oted day or something.
Yeah,
but
something crazy.
but it'd be nice to end it in Toronto. Beyond that, haven't put like a whole lot of thought into it. That would be my only hope, would be that it's in Toronto.
Quick one on the lineup. You've been on some big cards in your career. This card is monstrous. Is there a match or a couple of matches on this card outside of your own that you anticipate could deliver something special? I mean, there's 11 matches, I think, some big names on this card. Some people that maybe Toronto isn't that familiar with.
Sure. Yeah. I mean, it's one thing with AEW, man. You're going to get your money's worth on a pay-per-view. Like we fire all guns, and then it's up to you to just try and keep up. I love both guys. I love both their work, especially with what they're doing right now. But I think this is going to be a coming out party for Kyle Fletcher. I think people are in a main event style world title match. I believe it's his first world title match. with what Hangman and where he's at right now, and how like everything he's doing is just firing on multiple cylinders. Like the guy's got to figure it out. He really knows his character. He really, you can tell, puts attention and thought into his promos and his storylines. I feel like that one is the first of many between those guys. I could see that being a Rock Austin type thing, and where those guys continue to keep running up against each other. And then you throw in the Swerves and the Ospreys and guys like that into that mix too. And then you can throw Darby into that. I mean, it's just there's so many young, talented people doing it at a level that, I don't know. I think Fletcher's 26 or something. He's very young, and to be where he's at is just, it's incredible. And how much he's grown and blossomed in the last, just a couple of years, not even. So I feel I'm going to be watching that one for sure, but you kind of can't go wrong. I can't wait to see Eddie back, and the reception that he gets. But I mean, what are Darby and Moxley going to do to each other? Like, it's just, and the great part too is, we have a straight tag team match, a tag team match, tag team rules. We got, I think it's fair to say, two of the best teams ever going face to face in a match that you never thought you would get to see, because who knew we'd be peers at the same time after Jay and I were retired for 16 years combined. This thing was a pipe dream, and when we would sit and talk about, imagine if, it was always imagine if FTR.
Yeah.
Imagine if the Young Bucks, imagine if the Usos, it was always those conversations. And now it's happening. And like I said, all of the things that people don't see and all the chips that had to fall to make this work, the fact that it did is really crazy. Just me being an AEW, to a lot of people, that idea is just, that was astronomically insane. And here we are. So man, it's a stacked show. I'm getting diarrhea of the mouth now, but yeah, it's a stacked show.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And you mentioned those young guys, and I think one thing that people love about AEW is the innovation, and a lot of these young guys are really pushing it to the next level. Where do you see this industry going? Because it's always cyclical. You get to a point where it starts to come back to more old school, and then it gets pushed to another level. But in your opinion, what's sort of the next frontier for this industry?
It's tough to say. I think the biggest change that has happened without anyone fully maybe realizing it is that it's now not a live event industry. It's a television industry. And that has changed how guys and girls are trained. That has changed what scenarios they're put in now that we weren't put into. I've often said, the house show business plan was horrible on our bodies, was horrible on our personal lives and marriages and things like that. What it did do, though, is it got you better, and it got you better in front of live audiences, not on television. You're not learning how to do this job on television, getting your reps on television where you can be pulled apart and picked apart, especially with social media now. So now, young people are getting the reps on television. And by doing that, sometimes you go for the biggest risk to get the biggest reaction. I do think the bedrock of this industry, though, is still storytelling. You have to have storytelling if you really, really want an audience engaged to the utmost. So I think no matter what, there still has to be storytelling, which I'm thankful for, because that's the most fun part of it. Doing matches is great, but everybody can do matches and everybody can do wrestling moves. But can you tell a story? Can you get people invested? Can you tell a story with your eyes? Can you tell a story with your inflection, with your, the story that you tell in a promo, peaks, valleys? That to me is still the most important thing. In the past and also going forward.
Quick last one for me. I can't have you on Toronto Sun without talking about the Toronto Maple Leafs. You become something of a face for the Leafs
Yeah.
especially in the postseason. No Mitch Marner this year. Revamped roster. What are your thoughts on the Leafs this season?
I've said I think they'll probably have less points. I don't know if they'll win their division this year, just because there is a lot of turnover and that amount of change. Usually, you see it start to gel mid-season kind of thing, and by that point, I'm sure the Panthers and everyone else will have already taken off. But I do think they're better prepared for the playoffs. I think they got tougher. I know they lost a lot of points. with losing Marner, but I think these guys are playoff guys. And I also feel like they already play Brew-based system, so there won't be maybe less of a buy-in to get them on the right page. Now the whole team has had a season with him to understand what it is that he's looking for and he wants, and it works. I mean, they did get better. They did do better in the playoffs. They fell apart in that last game, and that's really what it boiled down to. They're really close, but they were really close before too. And you can say, hey, if they beat Florida, chances are, and I'd say that's a fair assumption. But I do feel like come playoff time, getting in a corner with Dakota Joshua is going to be far different than going in a corner with Mitch Marner.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be an interesting season for sure. Last one for me, Pure Plank. You and Jay have a business outside of the industry as well. What can you tell us about the product, and where can people grab it?
Yeah, man, it's been kind of crazy. We came up with it. We cooked it up during the pandemic, and just because we're starting to get dad bods, and then I started planking. Jay saw some results and was like, "Well, what are you doing?" I was like, "Planking, man." And he's, well, whatever. So after 20 seconds of shaking, he realized it was a legit thing. So he had the spark. He said, "I wonder if there's anything on the market for this." So we started looking, and we found a couple of things, but they looked pretty dangerous. We ordered them, we tried them, and they were dangerous. So we're like, there's got to be something better here. So I got a piece of paper and a Sharpie, and I started drawing down our ideas. And here we are, 2.5 years later or whatever. And it's been kind of insane, the reaction. And, the other day, the team sent me, he goes, "We're in Rolling Stone." I was like, "What?" Just casually in Rolling Stone with Pure Plank. Like, well, okay. So it's taken off, and I guess most importantly, Jay and I are at a point in our life where, like, is money great? Sure, but you also want to do something that is legitimately going to help people, and we've seen that coming in now when as people are using it and realizing that this is something that isn't insurmountable. You can just get down, do it, give yourself 5 minutes. That's all it takes. And 5 minutes is a long time planking, so build up to it. But starting to see people that are losing weight. They're saying their back pain is going away because the core is getting stronger. I mean, that's the kind of stuff where it's like, okay, cool. And I feel good about this because it is actually doing what it did for us.
Yeah, absolutely. Sounds great. Adam, really appreciate the time today, man. AEW All Out this Saturday at Scotiabank Arena. Tickets going fast. It should be an incredible event. Thanks so much for doing this. We appreciate
Yeah, thanks for having me. Oh, yeah, go pureplank.com. I always forget that.
it.